The Samsung Wave is Samsung's first phone to run on their own operating system called Bada. So this is sort of their flagship, not just a flagship phone, but also a flagship phone for the operating system itself. So it's a high-end smartphone, but it's also meant to advertise their operating system, which they would like to compete with the likes of BlackBerry 6, Android, iPhone OS, and the like. Yeah, it's fairly easy to set up. You can tell that Bada is still in its infancy, but the wizard when the device first boots up is fairly easy to use, fairly easy to set up. If all you want from your device is just some basic email functionality, some web browsing, and the ability to download apps, then yeah, the setup was fairly painless. It gives you everything that you would expect from a smartphone. You've got email, you've got your normal phone functionalities, SMSing and calling, and then you've also got apps, which is something that you get on just about any smartphone platform nowadays. So, and then on the hardware side, you've got Samsung's, they're famous for what they call the Super AMOLED screens. These screens are very bright, even in direct sunlight. And they are also very, very responsive. So when you touch it, you feel like you're getting decent feedback out of the screen. And I'm gonna compare it to iPhone, even though it's fairly trite and everybody does that nowadays. But the iPhone is the benchmark for responsiveness from a touch screen, and this competes well with that. The Samsung Wave comes with a digital camera on the back. It's not fantastically high in terms of megapixels, but it's acceptable. I mean, it's among its peers. But what is very, very impressive about it, regardless, is the quality of photos that it takes indoors and in low light. So even at night, indoors with really bad indoor lighting, the combination of the flash and the optics gives you a fairly good picture quality. Then on the multimedia playback side, it's got what you'd expect from a smartphone. It can play back your music, and it can play back videos. The screen is of very high resolution, so playback of video is crisp. The sound that you get out of the device isn't bad either. So while one typically wouldn't watch your movies or TV series on the device, if that's all you've got, then you've got some good quality on here anyway. The Bada, which is the operating system that the Samsung Wave comes with, is Samsung's own smartphone operating system, and they've put some money and some R&D behind it, and one hopes that it grows into a competitor, because the more competition we've got in the smartphone operating system space, the better for everybody, and especially for consumers. The operating system is actually very good for its first release. You get exactly what you'd expect from a touchscreen smartphone operating system. And if you compare it to the Samsung Galaxy S, which is an Android phone from Samsung, the two behave very similarly. One thing that I found lacking was there doesn't seem to be the option to put shortcuts on the home screens. So that's something that you can do on Android, and it seems that the device's home screens are definitely modeled after Android. And that seemed like a strange oversight. You've got your widgets and that sort of thing, but you can't turn your home screen into a menu like you would find on an iPhone. An iPhone, for instance, just has a menu. So now you might want to put some shortcuts on there just for easy access to your apps. The only way to access the majority of your apps is through the menu system, which looks and feels a lot like the iPhone menu system. Sure, the device is incredibly solid. So when you pick it up the first time, you'll feel this thing is carved out of a solid block of steel. And when you open it up, you can hear the sound of metal. So it's a very solid device. It's going to be very difficult to break this thing. So it's very hardy. Though I wouldn't recommend dropping it on its screen. But it's going to be resistant to scratches and like slight drops and that sort of thing. It's a very solid feeling device. The operating system is acceptable for a new entrant into the smartphone market. So those have to be my best features of the phone. The operating system, while acceptable, does need some work, and I hope that Samsung does indeed evolve the operating system. This is the very first release of it, so one would expect them to provide updates to the device and to improve on the operating system. And another lacking area, which will hopefully be rectified in time, is that the applications available on BARDA are fairly few. That is increasing on a daily basis, but it's not as much as one can find on older models of smartphone. The average Twitter client and Facebook client aren't fantastic, so I would have liked to download an app to give me a better user experience when it comes to social networking, and that wasn't available yet. So at least, and definitely not for free. There are some available that cost money, but I think most users don't really want to pay money to access their social networks on a smartphone. The Samsung Wave is a great device for those who are looking for something that's slim, that's a smart, responsive smartphone. And by responsive, I'm referring to the feedback you get from the operating system. When you touch something, it happens. However, if you're looking for something that's more established, an Android-based phone, and an iPhone, then one should really look at that. If apps are what's important to you, then I would think very carefully about getting a Samsung BARDA phone, or the Samsung Wave, which is based on the BARDA operating system. However, if what you're looking for is a smartphone that just gives you the basic features that you'd expect from a smartphone, you can't go wrong with the Wave.